Yeah. Okay. So, firstly, I would like to ask you guys to introduce yourselves and just like a mini introduction for everyone.
Hello. Yeah. Hi everyone. Thank you coming in. If you want to listen to us, I am Reyna. I work at Mi Primer Bitcoin El Salvador. We are an NGO and a nonprofit based in El Salvador, but we are also worldwide. We work in education at schools. We work with the Minister of Education of El Salvador, and we also have a decentralized Lightning network with educators around the world that want to teach our Bitcoin diploma, which is a 10-week course. And I'm here for the first time in Prague, having a great time. Thank you.
Yeah, me too.
Hello, I'm Isabella Santos. I'm the founder of BTC Isla, and I'm the co-founder of Get Based. BTC Isla is an initiative to orange pill an island. And yes.
Hello guys, my name is Ariana Dixon and I am from Roatan, Honduras. I am the manager of the Bitcoin Center for AmityAge that we have there in Roatan. So we do education there. In our Bitcoin Center, we also have an ATM and we give one-on-one classes, and we also go to different schools and to different businesses, and we do workshops with the schools and also with the businesses.
Great. Well, my first question to everyone is, why Bitcoin education?
Well, I think everything starts with some knowledge, right? When you are unfamiliar with something, the first thing you do is to learn about it. The first thing I do if I want to travel is to learn English to get along. The first thing that I do if I want to apply to a job is do a little bit of research to see if I would like it. And I believe that that's the way for Bitcoin, new Bitcoiners, and it would be for a new generation, not only the new generation, but everybody, right? My parents, they're older and they want to learn. They need to start a little bit like kids too. So Bitcoin education is the foundation for everything to come after. You can learn how Bitcoin works at its core, and if you like the technical part, you're gonna go down that road. If you like the humanitarian part, you're gonna see the use cases in that sense. And if you just want to save and have a better future, then you're gonna pick that. So it's just the core and the foundation for everything that's come after.
Why Bitcoin education? Well, I believe that if we want the Bitcoin network to be successful, we have to contribute in the best way possible. Personally, all I know how to do is, make fun content and educate people in a fun way. So that's how I can contribute to the network. But mostly because in December, I went on a trip to Peru and I saw what Motive was doing over there. They're building circular economies in the outskirts. And I realized that there's such a need for Bitcoin in developing countries. And that's why I decided to take it onto my own hands. So there's a quote that says, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. And I decided to start that in Bitcoin Isla over in Isla Mujeres, which is a tiny island off of the coast of Cancun. It has around 22,000 inhabitants. So that's small enough, but also big enough to make a difference. And it can work there, obviously it can be multiplied and be used, and maybe encourage other people to start an initiative somewhere where they can do their own circular economy. Like, you don't have to live on an island to do it. I think it's just the easier option because you don't have that many barriers. You live on an island, you probably feel like in an island there's not that many rules, so you can get away with stuff. So if you can do it there, then maybe you can find the issues and try to do it in other cities. So I guess that's why.
So for me, it started off because when I first learned about Bitcoin, there weren't many places that you can actually get good information. Like you would look online, and there was just so many like misinformation. They had like pros and cons, and it was so confusing for me at the beginning. So when I started working with AmityAge, that is one of the things that I wanted to do, was to try to find ways to simplify it, that would make it easier for people to get the right education and not just have to go through millions and millions of stuff and then realize, like, then for them to realize, like, okay, I'm going to believe this or I'm going to believe that. So that is where it all started for me. And like I said at the beginning, I was kind of against Bitcoin. Sorry, but it's true. Because on the island, it was very scammy. So I was very like skeptical. I didn't want to get into it, but then I met Dixon, and that is when everything changed for me. And I realized that for me, that is the best thing that happened to me. So I want to give people that opportunity as well. So that is why I really think that Bitcoin education is super important, just so people know that there's more out there that they can do.
Okay, and then, so Reyna does Bitcoin in Spanish, and I know that in other languages there is very limited resources. So what do you think we can do to change that? Obviously, we have to speak to people who can speak English for them to translate it into their language, so people who don't understand English can understand it. And how do we get those people to trust that it's not a scam? Because as you said, in Roatan there was a lot of scammy things. So how do you change that?
I believe is, hearing their first is never good to judge. Like, if sometimes someone might have had a really bad experience too. So it's good to acknowledge it. And, we're sorry that happens to them. But I think one of the the best things that I like about the Bitcoin community is the collaboration. So we all have a friend that can explain better to an older guy or a younger kid. Now I have you as a friend that you can explain better to, to our students, because it's easier. So then it's few right now there are plenty more resources, videos out there that we can share. I mean, personally, what I do is, I keep sort of like a library, an online library of the easiest videos that I found that explains concepts like blockchain, like mining, like lightning, all of that, and share them with them so they can see that it can start with a little step. You can start trying to understand something. It's also not good to push them, save everything on Bitcoin. It's good enough sometimes to help them to download a wallet and to send them some sats if you feel generous. I mean, you can literally just send $1, 100 sats, and show them how easy it is so they get their hands on it. And then just let them try it first. Do not push. Just hear them out and see what is better for everybody.
Can you repeat the question?
So it's, how do we get other people, for example, in your language, because there's a lot less sources in Spanish or French or Italian or whatever. How do we get them to trust the trustworthy sources?
Well, I personally think it's more trial and error, especially with education. I do notice that there's a lot of lack of trust there. In my experience in Isla Mujeres, it's a small, tight-knit community. And what I experienced was when I was trying to first have people sign up on the island for the classes, I ended up getting invited to a group chat of all the girls on the island. And I thought I was, accepted. All right, whatever. I offered them the classes. I told them it was a free class. But there's a lot of misconceptions because a lot of people try to scam the people that don't have a lot of money, which is kind of bad. What they end up doing is they end up associating everything with Bitcoin, even though it's crypto. So if they've been scammed online, they think it's because of Bitcoin. So they generalize it. And it's all because of lack of knowledge. And continuing to the story, I remember, I had offered them the classes, and then the next day, the girl's daughter gets hacked on Facebook for another crypto. So she thought it was me. And she started accusing me on the group chat, like, hey, you with the Bitcoin, you're a scammer, you tried to scam me. And I was like, no, like, listen, it's hard to explain when they don't know. So I think if you can't explain it, sometimes you just have to let things cool down and try with those that do listen to you. So there are going to be some that are going to be skeptics, and they're probably going to, tell their friends like, oh, this person's a scammer. They scammed my daughter's Facebook account. But at the end of the day, there's some that are willing to listen to you, and you have to show them the way. And those are the ones that are going to stand up for you and say, no, like, it's actually not a scam. Because the way that I found to get to them is through people that they know, the trusted sources. Because when you're coming from the outside, it's hard. But you just have to keep trying and trying and trying. You're going to get rejected, and that's okay. But if you can orange pill one person in the education, aspect of it, they're going to want to educate others. And that's how it starts. It's like you educate one, and then that one person educates another, and then two, and then three. So it's just starting little by little and being patient. But the scams are always going to be there, and some people are going to be able to listen to and say, all right, it's not a scam. And then others just will believe it's a scam. But it's like personal choice.
Can you repeat the question, please? So, how do we get people to, trust our sources? Obviously, as Isabella said, it would be word of mouth. What is your opinion? Do you agree with Isabella, or do you give them, like, official sources?
Well, in a way, I relate to Isabella a lot because on Roatan, it's all about like reputation and who you know there. So when I first started out with Bitcoin education, that is one thing that I said. I was like, they can say whatever they want, but they will never say that I'm a scammer or I'm a thief. There's one thing that they're never going to say about me. So that is how I started building the trust, because people knew me. I was born and raised on the island. And even though it's a big island, it's kind of like a small island because everybody knows everybody there. So when I started working at the Bitcoin Center, it's really funny because everybody was like, oh, you're going to get scammed. Like, come back and talk to me in another month or 2 months when they scam you, you receive none of your salary. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. I trusted it so much that I knew that was not going to happen. So it took a while, I would say like maybe 6 months. And then people started reaching out to me for more information about Bitcoin. And what they like to say is that I was a Bitcoin guinea pig on the island. And I really like that. I really like that I was their guinea pig. So getting their trust, like, for me, maintaining that trust, for me, it's super important. And especially something so delicate, because people, they don't look to scam the rich. They look to scam the poor. Which for me makes it 100 times worse, because somebody that they worked so hard for minimum wage or even less than minimum wage, and then they don't have the education necessary to realize when something is a scam, because they get too desperate to just get like $2 more per month because they need the money. So when they come and they tell them, okay, give me $50 and in 2 days you'll have $500. Of course, they're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I need this money. So maintaining that trust, and I don't care if they call me like at 10 o'clock at night or send me a message at 10 o'clock at night because they have a question or something about it, if this is a scam or not. I'd rather respond to their message just so that I can maintain their trust and so that they know that what we're doing is legit and not that we're trying to scam them and that we actually care. Because I actually do care about my people in Roatan. Like, that is something that I'll always do is take care of them, and I always want the best for them.
My next question is, what audience or what generation or what people do you hope to reach with your education?
Well, this is very ambitious, but I would say everybody. You know, it's everyone because we start with materials first thinking that it was going to be for kids, like teenagers, but it turns out that these materials is also good for the kids' parents or the teachers. And personally, I work in an education company, not a company, a non-profit, but that's what we do. We basically think ahead, okay, what else is needed and what else is needed. So it's about reaching not for the sake of numbers, but what is the impact that we want to create. Take the feedback. One thing that I really like that Ariana said is, build the trust so they know that you are a trustable source, and also stick to your word. Like if you believe in something and you said that you're going to help them, or if you said to someone, if you need anything, message me, respond to those messages. Because if you are just going to let them hang in, then what's the point? So it's from all sources. We have meetups in El Salvador where people go and they want to learn about Bitcoin. But then we also have these big graduations where Bitcoiners can attend and see what's happening. So it's a little bit of everything, and then trust that what we're doing is right. If you sit down, you do the research, and you think about the good that you want to leave. It's trusting that also the research that you're doing is worth it. If something is not, then just leave it. Ask somebody that knows better than you, ask someone that maybe is more knowledgeable than you. Keep digging, so then whatever the education that you want to do, either on your own life, with your parents, you get your, the first ones that we learned, when we want to teach, we are the first ones that we learn, right? Like we're the first ones that get better by teaching. So that's a very encouraging. So just think, what would you like, your educator to be like? Right? Like if you want them to be patient, you want them to be knowledgeable but honest enough. That if they don't know anything, then they are going to continue, and then they're not going to try to convince you otherwise. Just be yourself for sure, and then be honest too.
My personal goal is I want to Orangeville, obviously, Bitcoin Isla Mujeres, but my short-term goal is to just get one person to understand. If you can fully get one person to understand, then you can replicate it. I just recently started in April, so my short-term goal is to get one person to fully understand, especially someone that's on the island, because what you say is you need one person that was born there, raised there, because you need to build a reputation. You can't just go into someone's territory, claim it, and say, hey, I'm here to teach you about something. Trust me. It also works like proof of work. They need to know that you're not going to scam them, because we live in a harsh world where people do want to scam the poor. And like you said, they're the most vulnerable. And I notice that a lot, that they take such advantage of the people that have less amount of money, and those are the ones that need Bitcoin the most. Not your, wealthy people that, live in a first world country. They don't need it. They don't really need it. The ones that really genuinely need it are like the ones that are in developing countries. And we notice that with Venezuela, we notice it with Brazil, we notice it with Argentina. They all look to escape, and we need to teach them how to do it the right way, so they don't, because once you try something for the first time and you don't like it, you get scammed, you're not going to try it again. So you just want to be that first person, that first point of contact to teach them the right way about Bitcoin.
Can you repeat the question, please? So what audience or what generation or who do you wish to I guess, connect with?
Well, when I started out just like focusing on kids, but then I soon realized that it's a little bit harder to scam kids because they don't really have the money, you know. So who has the money are the adults. And I had this experience with this really old guy, and it really broke my heart that he came to our Bitcoin center, and you can tell that he was not financially stable. And he said, I need you to help me send $500 to this person. And I asked him, I was like, do you know who you're sending the money to? And he said, yes, I'm sending it to my daughter. But I just saw too many red flags, so I asked him again. I was like, okay, yeah, I can help you use our ATM, but do you really know and trust who you're sending this to? And he said, yes, I'm sending it to my niece for an insurance. And then right then it clicked in my head, and I was like, no, this is somebody that's trying to scam him. So I talked and I talked and I talked to him over and over and over about it. And he was so determined to send this money to this person. And I probably shouldn't say this, but I felt so guilty that I just ended up lying to him and saying that our ATM was not working, just so that he wouldn't send those $500 to this person that was scamming him. And I gave him my number, and I told him he can call me back the following day just to see if our ATM was working. And he did call back. He called for 3 days after that. And I kept telling him, no, the internet is not working. I'm sorry, it's just technical issues. Because I just felt so bad, and I figured I wouldn't be able to live with that guilt if I had actually went through with that, you know? And that's when I realized that it's not just kids or the younger adults, but it's basically everybody. Like, we're in this bubble, and they just target the weaker ones, you can say. And so that's why for me, the education, the audience that I want to target is everyone. It's everyone, especially the ones that people consider the weaker ones, because they shouldn't be considered the weaker ones, but they are. So that is where, if I had to put them at the top of the list, it would be them.
Okay. And another question would be, how do you build that trust? Because as myself, as an outsider in the country I live in the town I live in, it's a very small town, so everyone is very niche. Everyone knows everyone. How do you build a trust with that one person who might not even need to, like, he doesn't need to, or they don't need to come out of their friend circle or come out of the people they know, or they're in their own bubble. How do you put yourself into that position where you can speak to these people and where you can build trust?
I would say, well, first is just make sure that you listen. I think sometimes when we know, especially because we all, know Bitcoin as a technology, as a thing, and we can get really excited about someone to know it all, and we want to basically share with them sometimes years that have taken us, that knowledge. Sometimes it's been like 2-3 years of listening to podcasts, reading to books, and learning about different people and authors. So we tend to just wanted to pass it on and not listen. So it is very important that you listen to whatever that people is needed or that person is needed at that moment. Everybody's different. A young kid can feel just, attracted to Bitcoin because they know that it can save a little bit, and then so maybe they can buy a bike, and then you teach them that part so they can go little by little. But if you don't listen to, for example, the guy that Ariana was telling, you're just gonna go with it with your day. And the whole point is that they trust you, that you actually pay attention to what they needed to know, to pay attention to what they felt that they needed to know at that moment. And also, just keep showing up. If you are comfortable enough to share your contact so they can message you, that's fine. and make sure that you respond. This is very tricky because the more people that you met and the more people that you have to share your number with. So then if you're a busy person, you have a work, so it's tricky. But try to, or at least, share with them links. This is where I learned this. This is where you can find this information. This is a group of support. This is where you can attend a meetup. Just try to put the best resources to that needs, but you are not going to find out what they need if you don't listen, if you don't see what they're needing in that moment. I believe but Bitcoin education in the end, it shouldn't be, it's not the end, it's just a means to someone to feel empowered, to feel that they found out this other world that they can build a better life. And that is going to happen only if they actually get that interest from the beginning. Because if you feel, I talked to this Bitcoiner at an XYZ meetup and I really didn't understand what they were saying. But it's basically sometimes because we didn't pay attention to what they were asking.
There's different ways I feel like you can go with trying to build that trust. But one of the ones that I found is the most efficient is giving them sats. Not just giving them, but having them earn them. In my case, what I tend to do in the school is every time they complete a class, I give them sats for attending, sort of like work. Because when you're going to class and you're an adult, you're giving up your time, and your time is more scarce than anything else, than money, than Bitcoin, because that's the one thing you can never get back. So what I noticed is after each class, I teach them and I give them sats, and then they have like a full week to see how the price fluctuates, but I put it in a wallet that they can't buy or sell. So it's not a wallet and an exchange. It's just a Lightning wallet, Coinos.io. I don't know if you guys have used it, but I highly recommend it because it allows them to hold their Bitcoin and they don't spend it and they just watch the price fluctuate. So they start, putting their toes in the sand and seeing how it actually works and how it is in the real world. At the beginning of the classes, they were asking like, I want to spend my sats. How do I spend it? But fast forward to we're almost graduating, they don't even want to know ways to spend their sats. They just want to, they want to hodl. So they only learn this way by having their own amount of money. By asking someone that doesn't have that much money to invest in Bitcoin is kind of like a long stretch. So you have to figure out ways to have them earn the Bitcoin so they can, experience it, watch it fluctuate, and not be so scared of it.
In my experience, it has been to realize that everybody learns in a different way. And to cater to the way that this specific person can learn something, I feel like that builds a lot of trust with them, because I can talk and talk and talk and talk to this person, but maybe that person doesn't understand what I'm saying 100% because that's not their way of learning. Their way of learning maybe is more interactive, or watching a video, or listening to a podcast. So giving them the right resources and letting them know that I understand that they're all different has been a great way for me to build their trust. Also, another way is to let them know that they're never going to know 100% everything about Bitcoin. Because it can be intimidating at the beginning when you feel like, oh my God, there's so many things out there and I don't know where to start. There's too much for me to learn. Like, I don't want to learn anything new, especially something so complicated like Bitcoin. So I tell them, I'm like, I've been in this for years, and trust me, people can ask me something right now and I'll tell them, I really don't know, but I can get you the answer for it. And I tell them every day you're going to learn something new. Every person that you talk to is going to teach you something new. And it's going to be amazing. And I always tell them, if that person makes you feel bad for asking a specific question, that is not somebody you want to learn from. Because somebody who's willing to teach will never let you feel like you're stupid or that you're asking any stupid questions. So that is the way that I think has, in my experience, has been the best way to build trust. But then is letting them know, one, that I understand that they need, that not everybody learns the same way. And two, to let them know that they're never going to know 100% everything about Bitcoin. And I would like to open a Q&A to the audience if you have any questions. Yes, Lucy?
I would like to know why it's called Women in Bitcoin Education and not just Bitcoin Education.
Well, we actually didn't do it. It turned out to be just women, so we just titled it. I mean, I didn't actually. I think it was Amity. Yeah, Marek. It was just Marek.
What was Marek's fault?
With his fault.
Any other questions?
To answer her question, also women have a tendency to teach in a very nurturing way. So maybe we bring a little essence to the classes. Maybe that's why maybe there's more women teachers, I guess.
It is a very female-dominated profession.
But teachers actually, because that's very interesting, because in El Salvador all of our teachers are men.
Really?
Me. But then
Except
everybody
for you,
else,
of course. Any questions from the audience? What about the panelists? Do you guys have any questions for each other?
What's next? What's next? Next. I mean, that can be a question, what's your next goal? What's the next thing that you would like to see in the space? I agree with Susel. Sometimes, why is it women in Bitcoin? I think it's a process in the industry, like not only Bitcoin, but in general, there is this separation of women doing this. But then you're right, like you have a point. Nobody says men in Bitcoin education or men in, I don't know, construction. I think it's a process. So hopefully we're getting there. I don't think even in the real world, like outside, we still have that separation just yet. I can see, in other industries, put it women in just because, like if it's different, and maybe we just take it as a chance for now to bring that difference and to put it out there too. And I really appreciate the guys also sticking around, because not everybody does it too. Like they think that they see a woman's panel and it's like, oh, probably it's not much to learn, and I'm sure there is plenty.
I have one last question. It's why do you think Bitcoin education is so important? Just like a personal answer.
I see education in general as an empowerment thing. It empowers you to know another language. It
Knowledge
empowers
is power.
Knowledge is power. So at the end, what is the best, to learn with the best technology and best money ever? And that is super, super empowerment. And it's just this feeling that it gives you about a better future. We, as Bitcoiners, tend to have all of these conversations of what's happening in the world, but at the same time, we switch to the hope that we have. So I'm sure that if other people who know it, they wouldn't feel so, bitter or just sad about life in general, having this everyday routine that you really don't see where you're going or what's the point. So for me, Bitcoin education is more as a way to change your lifestyle in a way. Like you're not going to become a millionaire from overnight, but you're definitely going to feel more fulfilled. You're going to find something that you like, and you're not going to just go, for example, for the career that makes you the more money. You're going to go for the one that you actually love and where you are going to apply your skills and your gift the best way.
Well, knowledge is power, and giving them the ability to make their own choices, that's the key to success. My mentality is if you teach someone about something, then they can make their own choices. Same with anything in life. they need to have the ability to know that there is another option, that money and their own currency in their own country, that's not the only option. So if you teach them all these options, and if they want to still choose fiat, that's fine. Like, that's on them. You did your work. But giving someone the ability to know what's out there so they can make a personal choice, that's what makes, the world successful. And at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want someone to make their own choices and give them back the power that they deserve, because they've stripped that from us. You're born into this world and they automatically tell you all the things that you need to do, that you need to, you have to use this money, and if you want to, this, you have to do this. You have to go to this school. You have to, get your degree, do this. But at the same time, is no one gives you the different options that there are, and that's why Bitcoin education is so important. It's not because you're going to turn them into Bitcoiners. It's because you're going to give them the ability to choose to become a Bitcoiner. Because being a Bitcoiner is a choice. We choose to be a Bitcoiner every day, and just teaching them what it is out there is what life is all about. If you can manage to learn to know one person, then I think you're pretty successful.
I agree a lot with Isabella that you're giving them the choice. When people ask me this question, I always say that I do it mostly because I feel privileged at a certain point in life. Because at least in Honduras, for you to open up a bank account, whether it's in dollars or in lempiras, you need, I think it's $100 minimum for you to open up your bank account. The majority of people in Honduras, they don't even make that. And if they make that, they need that to buy food, so they can't open up a bank account. Honduras is a third world country, so the government is so messed up there, and which I'm sure it is messed up in a lot of countries. So for me to open up a bank account if I needed to, it's easy. I have $100, so I can open up a bank account, or 500 lempiras. I have that, so it's easy for me. But not everybody is like that. 85% of the Hondurans don't have the privileges that I have now. And I want them to know that they have different choices in life, that they don't just have to stick to the fiat system, that they have this other way, that they can give themselves better opportunities in life.
So you guys say that Bitcoin education is the ability to opt in or out. And do you agree that the fiat system and the fiat education system does not give you that option? It's very, you need to know this, this, and this, and nothing else. They don't give you the resources to question. They don't let you question. And so you guys are the opposite. And how do you do that? How do you be the opposite of whatever the fiat education system is?
Well, I think at its core, there's so much to explain it perfectly. It is just like that. And that way we don't have to go that deep. It's just as it is. Bitcoin gives you the option of in or of out. No one is going to force you. And in a way, the fiat world doesn't give us that choice. You have to do it, and you have to accept it, which is no longer the reality with Bitcoin, and that's what makes it special. Because you can definitely opt out eventually, but I think nobody that comes into the our community actually leaves. So
Yeah, that sums it up. Bitcoin is a choice, and teaching them allows them to make that choice. And we can't expect them to automatically, change their way of living. They were born, using cash. So that's also a huge barrier, trying to teach them that you don't need cash. And especially in these parts of the world where, in developing countries where they only have cash. They were never part of the banking system because the banks never accepted them. They didn't have enough, so the banks didn't even care about them. So trying to bridge that gap obviously has its struggles that we have to overcome, and it's going to take time. But at the end of the day, you just got to take it, one brick at a time, build a good foundation, have them trust you, and eventually they will make the right choice. It's like when you're raising a kid. You raise them, you teach them everything you know, and they have the ability to choose how they end up in life. And you can't live the life for them. So, yes.
Yeah, I totally agree. The fiat system, you just basically have to sit down there and take it. Nothing else you can do. It's like they put something on your mouth and you can't say anything about it because you don't have a choice. But with Bitcoin, you have a choice. So if you put it on the table, it's like you slap your cards on the table, and if the other person wants to take it, they take it. If they don't want to take it, well, there's really nothing you can do. Nobody is going to force you to become a Bitcoiner. Like Isabella said a while ago, we choose every day that we want to be a Bitcoiner. So you can plant a seed in their head today, and then maybe they won't become a Bitcoiner until 5 years later. And that's totally okay, because you're giving them that as a choice. And that is the difference between the fiat system and Bitcoin, is the choice that you have.
But I do know a lot of loud voices in the Bitcoin community that are very, very against the fiat system, and they are always preaching, Bitcoin is the best, Bitcoin is the only way, Bitcoin is this, Bitcoin is that. And obviously, people don't do as they're told. People rebel, and how do we overcome these voices and tell them, you don't have to choose Bitcoin?
I mean, just as clearly as it is, right? And to me, at least personally, Bitcoin, we're still early. We're still developing a lot of the things that are happening. We're still developing even, Lightning infrastructure to be more scalable. So maybe it's hard to say this out loud, but Bitcoin is not perfect as just yet. Completely, nothing it is, which is the great thing about it, right? We keep building on it. We keep just working on it. Everybody's doing their part. The developers do their part, which is great, because I couldn't do that. I like coding and I can do a little bit, but just a little bit. I'd rather use my focus when I know where I can provide the best. So just use it as an opportunity to actually contribute and feel that contribution and put that contribution out of the word. Yes, the system, I agree, it doesn't help us at all. But then just keep building, right? Because imagine if everything was already done and settled, then it would be really boring, because there is nothing more to be done, but there is still plenty to be done. And to bring those people and say, oh yeah, well, listen, oh, you can do this, that would be great, because you can help us with this. It from all sources. Even in any company, you can just be literally just a graphic designer and just help with certain social media. Like, everybody can start from somewhere.
Yes, and I just want to interrupt to say that I saw a quote the other day on the back of one of my new charging leads. I bought it just like here at a train station because my one broke. And the quote was, "There is no best, just better." And that is, in my opinion, very contradictory to what Michael Saylor says. There is no second best. So maybe I'm contradicting a very big name in the space right now. But there will always be a better program or a better non-profit thing. There will always be, as you said, Bitcoin is not perfect, and all we can do is build to make it better.
Yeah, 100%, I agree. And also, how you say, when you believe in something so much, it's a personal choice. And you can't expect people to have the same passion and power about it. But also, you can't be a hypocrite about it. Bitcoin stands for freedom, and you can't obligate people to opt into the system. You can just give them the options and the tools to make that decision for them, and give them the power back that has been stripped from them from the minute that they were born. And to second that is, Bitcoin's not ready yet. Bitcoin's not ready for 8 billion people. We need to have island people use them We need to have the developing countries use them, not just the first world, because that way we can experience and see all the holes in the system and fix it. I don't think we'll live to see hyper-Bitcoinization yet. It's a slow, gradual change that's going to happen, and we just need to patch up the holes, sort of like being in a ship. You build your pirate ship, it's going to fill up with water, and you need to patch the holes. And at the end of the day, you're going to go to that destination that you need to go, but it takes time. And I think he wants to talk a little bit. Yo, give him the mic. Give him a mic.
So I think that if we start forcing Bitcoin on people, it's kind of like, then what is the difference between Bitcoin and the fiat system? Like, of course, we can.
Paco, come up stage.
So, like we said, Bitcoin gives you the option. You have the choices, and we can say Bitcoin is the best. Of course, we all think Bitcoin is the best. But if you're trying to force it down people's throat, that is not going to work. It's actually going to push them away, because they're going to be like, what is the difference then between Bitcoin and the fiat system? I might as well stay with the fiat system that I'm already familiar with for years now. It's easier for me. So I don't agree with the fact that we try to force people on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is something that you have to do because you love it and because you actually believe in it 100%. And you're not just doing it because somebody is trying to brainwash you into believing it. So for me, Bitcoin is trying to get rid of all of the brainwash that we've had for so many years, to give you the ability to have choices for you to decide what is best for you.
So we're just going to end on this note, I think. Thank you guys so much for coming. And I think we need to reword my dad's quote, Bitcoin fixes this. And instead of that, we need to reword it somehow to Bitcoin isn't perfect, but we will fix it. Thank you guys so much.